Time to get frank. Yeah, let's get frank.
Let's Get Frank, a radio podcast from your friends at St. Francis de Sales. We're all about real talk, real life, real faith. With God, we'll dive into what it means to live with purpose, navigate tough questions, and get to know Jesus like never before.
Today's podcast episode features information about a sensitive topic. So if you're listening with children, please be advised. All right. Good morning, Shannon.
Morning, Angel.
Oh, welcome back to another.
Oh, being an angel.
I wish I could sing. Maybe one day I could sing.
You can sing. I've heard it.
I think that's on karaoke night, and we know what happens on karaoke night. There may be a beverage that lubes the vocal cords just perfect, is all I'm saying. And there's a little bit of courage on there, too.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Today is Sunday. It's Divine Mercy Sunday, which is always celebrated in the Catholic Church the Sunday after Easter. And we just, on that day, celebrate God's goodness, Jesus's endless font of mercy that flows out upon us. And what a glorious image to think of Jesus's mercy just flowing over us.
And it's not just mercy. It's like his embrace. It's a pardon. It's like he makes all things new.
Beautiful.
He's the magic eraser.
Mr. Clean.
Oh,
that is
Mr. Eraser.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, we took a field trip, and we actually brought our Get Frank listeners with us and recorded an episode from the road. We were heading up to New York, to just outside of New York City, for a visit with the Sisters of Life. And that's a religious order from their website. The Sisters of Life are women who are in love with love, love incarnate, crucified and risen, and captivated by the truth of the beauty of every human person created in God's image and likeness. And I got to tell you, when those sisters opened the door for us and we arrived at the retreat house, there was just like this outpouring of beauty, grace, a joy that was just literally radiating and emanating from these women. And what a spectacular blessing that retreat was for us.
Oh, it was.
The Sisters of Life do a lot of work. They have a variety of missions, but specifically, we were there visiting to capture some knowledge about a post-abortive healing ministry that we have at St. Francis. And so we were there to experience a retreat weekend that they put on to get some ideas for what we could bring back to our population here in the Newark area. And today we just wanted to share maybe a little bit of our experience from that retreat in hopes that it might bring some peace and healing to you as well.
It certainly did for me. Let's just get real. 28 years ago, I made a choice. I'll never forget that choice. Looking back on that, and obviously all of the healing and divine mercy, I'm able to actually speak about this podcast. So there it is. And I'm speaking today because it doesn't have the power that it had over me for almost 30 years. I'm taking it back. I'm taking the shame back. I am not that person who made a choice. I'm not a person who cannot be redeemed. I'm not my sin. Throughout the years, I didn't think that way. In fact, I was pretty good at beating myself up. Surrendering this secret, I'll tell you, once this happened, I forgot it even happened. So for me, I was stuffing down whatever feelings I was having about this choice with alcohol, and then alcohol to cigarettes, and then food. Food became something that I punished myself with. Of course, with that, you have weight gain, all of the things that come with that. But For me, I just truly did not think that I was worthy for really anything. And looking back now and some of the things that I learned, not only in our ministry that we have here, but what really I came back with from the Sisters of Life retreat, is that somewhere in all of this, I forgot who I was. Or maybe I never knew who I was, but I know who I am now. And I know that I am someone who is forgiving, lovable, who is deserving of joy and abundance and happiness and living a life in authenticity. And whether or not you have this secret or you have another secret, what you end up doing is becoming a performer. Everything in your life becomes the act of dance of hiding the secret, that you never put yourself in a situation to be found out. Interesting enough to me, and I guess going forward quickly, because we have a short program, when I really started to feel God's call in my heart, and when I came into the Catholic faith, this sin was heavy on my heart because I had not yet understood the full grace and love of our Lord. And I was, for the first time, looking in the mirror and seeing who I wasn't, and that I really had a need. I had a need to be forgiven, to be lifted out of this darkness that I had been feeling for so long, and to give myself permission to forgive myself. And for me, coming into the church and confessing this sin was a very important thing. I was blessed to have a confessor who was incredibly understanding, allowed me to share in the messiness of my life, of my story, and looked me like Jesus would look at me, with a gaze of love and assurance and hope. And then a fatherly kind of takeaway that you no longer have to beat yourself up about this, that God's mercy is for me. And that if I can trust in that mercy, if I can accept what I've done, if I can forgive myself, I can forgive others that were in the mix. You have a thing in life that is that Sunday morning quarterback or Monday morning quarterback, I forget what it is, where you can take a look back and it shoulda, woulda, couldas. There's probably more people to forgive in that one day or that one mistake than you are really aware of. And number one, you're on the top of the list. But there's a lot that happens, I'm sure, prior to anyone having to have that choice or have to make that option, or how they're feeling about what predicament they've got themselves in. For me, again, this secret had so much power, and I allowed it to have power. And so now, in God's grace, He gave me opportunities to be a part of a group that respects all things life, all things love. And how hypocritical there for a while I felt. And I couldn't even face it, but I was still performing. And then until I really realized what God was calling me to do, was I courageous enough to stand out there and say it? Was I strong enough to share something that I'm terribly contrite about? Because someone else is out there beating themselves up and killing themselves in one way or another over it. And so I decided to take the power back. I decided to say, you know what? We're going to create a ministry here in our church that helps women who are like me, who helps women that are afraid to say it, helps women that are still full of shame, and give them a voice to share in it. And also for me is an inner dialogue with myself that this willingness to be uncomfortable or to be vulnerable is what is needed to reach the heart of someone else who has felt exactly like me. And that only in trusting that I have gone through it, that someone can see me, feel my heart, and know that they're in a safe place to share something that they may have never said out loud. To understand that after this choice, that there is love. And that you're deserving of a lot. And if sin is sin, let me back up, because I can tell you this. There was a friend of mine who wrote something and said that there is no greater proponent for life than a healed abortion. That's something I paraphrased that. I think it was much more eloquent. But the thought of it is true, that most people, if they had an opportunity to go back, probably wouldn't have done the mistake. I am so happy that the Lord has given me an opportunity to have this ministry, to talk about it. I've shared it with my family. I've shared it with my own daughter, my own son. So there's trust in knowing that I'm still mom, I'm still wife, I'm still sister, I'm still daughter, and that I am deserving of love. So that trip for me, and a whole of it, and you are so right, the minute you walk in. But what I took back from it is the experience itself was very undignified. I did not show myself dignity. Was not treated with dignity. I did not respect myself. I did not respect my own identity. I did not respect my own body. I allowed someone else's opinion or the thought of their opinion to allow me to make a decision that they may never know I made. I was making a decision based on an idea that someone would think something about me, and I was never going to tell them, but I made a decision if they found out. It's extraordinarily mind-boggling what we do to ourselves when we are in this kind of state.
And that is the devil's work, right? The lie that he weaves. And he just plants these little seeds, these little lies. There actually may not have been any truth to what you thought someone would say or think of you.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And yeah, it's something else how he can get in there and twist things around. And then when we listen to him, how he then takes the fact that we listened to him, the devil, and uses that against us. So we can't win. We cannot win with him. There's only one person we can win with, and that's Jesus himself. And I remember at the retreat, the beautiful image of the divine mercy that was front and center of everything that we did.
Let me explain what this picture is, just in case.
Yeah, maybe when I describe it, you'll remember having seen it somewhere. It's a picture of Jesus, and he's wearing a kind of a like white cassock or robe, and there are these rays of light coming, like emanating from him, and it's almost patriotic because they're red, white, and blue, rays of light that are radiating from him. And this is the image of the divine mercy.
And his hands are showing wounds of his crucifixion. He's got his hands out.
Yeah. I just remember that image just being front and center of the entire weekend. And a lot of what we were talking about and kept returning to was his divine mercy and the redeeming action of those wounds, of receiving those wounds, the blood and water that gushed forth from his side, that emanate from his sacred heart, pours over us and provides us a pathway back to him and back to heaven.
Well, and that's Jesus. That's really the divine mercy of Jesus, that he is meeting us exactly where we are, no matter what. Whatever trial and tribulation, whatever joy, whatever we are, he meets us exactly where we are in our own mind, in our heart. He knows our heart. He knows our innermost thoughts. St. John Paul II dedicated this day to the divine mercy out of a response from a sister named St. Faustina Kowalska. She was a Polish nun, and she was instrumental in kind of bringing about or spreading the devotion of the divine mercy, God's divine mercy. And there is so much more to this, but she expressed in her diary a couple things, that the greater the sinner, the greater the right that sinner has to mercy. Well, again, what consolation that no matter how bad you think you've done it, there is never going to be a lack of God's mercy. He is waiting for you to do it. And it reminds us that no matter how far we stray, that God's mercy is always within reach. It's waiting to embrace us.
I remember the priest that was at the retreat mentioning, he said something that struck me, and it said, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the mercy of Jesus, or was it the trust in Jesus? What comes first? And sometimes, and I may be situationally dependent, sometimes for me, his mercy flows out of nowhere and it deepens my trust for him. And then other times when I feel like I need his mercy so bad, I have to lean into that trust and knowing that he is there and that the mercy will eventually come. That's where I am right now in this phase of my life, this season of my life, is I'm just waiting for that mercy to be poured out on me. But I'm trusting that it will, and I know that it will because the Bible tells me.
Set me up for singing. I have to pause and say I'm not going to do it.
Not doing it today. Okay. You guys know, you all know the song. I remember coming back from that retreat and I was in the chapel. I mean, that retreat had me flying so high, being with the sisters and then being with these other women who were on their own healing journey was just such an honor. And it was just so life-giving.
It was witnessing miracle of healing right before our eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
I do remember, though, coming back, and I was praying in our chapel, and I actually had this weird feeling of sadness and a little bit of anxiety coming over me. And what scripture that popped in my mind while I was there, and that's unusual for me. Scripture doesn't usually pop into my brain. That's just not who I am. But Psalm 23 popped into my head, and I wrote it down, and it said, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." And what struck me about this psalm is the mix of what is both present tense and future tense all jumbled together in there. And so in the future, there's a promise that we will not have any like needs, no wants, no things that we have to have, and that we'll have goodness and mercy, and we'll be living in the house of the Lord. And oh, doesn't that sound good? But then in the present tense, what we have right now are there are what I see is maybe foretastes of heaven. And this is the mercy that flows from our Lord. That there are green pastures and there are still waters and there is restoration of my soul and there are right paths. There's no fear and I'm not alone and that I'm anointed, cup is overflowing, and that a place is in the present tense being prepared for me. And I actually didn't even connect that psalm with divine mercy until we started talking. And
But that's what the Lord wants for us all.
yes. And we can have it now. We can have that, again, that foretaste now. There are places and times of respite where we can sit by those green pastures and by the still waters and heal like we did on retreat. And we can get a foretaste of heaven.
And then it's our job to go out there and to tell others.
Yes. And to share a portion of the mercy that has been showered down upon us with other people. That's what this is about.
It's about just understanding God's will for you, his unrelentless love for you. And to be in full communion and at peace. Today, it seems like every single day I see something about anxiety, about fear, about this, depression, suicide. The world has got so many things out there that are all based on a lack of trust, lack of identity of who they are, what their true purpose is. We've all been lost going, what's this all about? What am I supposed to do? What's God's plan for me? You can't figure it out if you're not willing to ask him. Right? And if you've got all this stuff in between you and him that you're afraid to share or to come forth, I always think it's funny that people think that they can hide stuff. That they can hide stuff from God or they can hide stuff from themselves. The Lord with Adam and Eve, they said, "Where are you?" And Adam says, "We're hiding. We're naked." "Oh, do you know you're naked?" God knows. God knew exactly where they were. He knew what had happened. He knows all. And it's just, I guess in sharing today, it would be that I'm asking you to trust in God's divine mercy, his grace, that there are people out there, that he has put people in your path. Maybe today you're listening, you've never listened before. And maybe this is him saying, you know what? You don't got to carry this burden alone. Maybe you're not ready to heal. Maybe you're not ready to forgive yourself. Maybe whatever has happened in that time is a trauma you don't even want to go back to. But he's calling you. He's calling you to that peace and that understanding that you're not alone. You've never been alone. And that we were built for community. We're built to help one another, to share our lives with one another, to have authenticity in friendships and in family. And even though that is scary because in our world, sometimes people can find that kind of vulnerability as weakness. We fear that maybe somebody will find this out and use it against us and something. And maybe our businesses will suffer because we said so. Who knows what people fear for whatever they have in their life.
And I think that actually harkens right back to the original lie that got you into that place in the first place, which is thinking about what other people might think. And as soon as we release that and we realize that the only person that matters, the only person we should care about that what they think about us is God himself. And we should set up our lives and live our lives in a way that is pleasing to him and him alone.
What a beautiful model that is.
Yeah. And that's what I strive to do every day, but I fall short more often than not, but I still get up, and that's the difference. Get up and try again tomorrow. We have a really spectacular opportunity coming up for women in the Newark Heath area who may be in the same boat that we were once in, and that is that they have experienced an abortion in their past, or maybe they themselves did not have an abortion, but were a part of someone else's abortion story, maybe talked them into it or drove them to the
Paid for it,
whatever.
didn't counsel them against it.
Right. And there's a burden in carrying that truth with you that we want to help you overcome. Coming up on May 31st, we will have a day-long retreat. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, May 31st, where it's a day of hope for healing.
I guess anything that I would like to say is you're loved.
Back on the Sisters of Life website. We believe that every person is valuable and sacred. We believe that every person is good, loved, unique, and unrepeatable. We believe that every person's life has deep meaning, purpose, and worth. In fact, we give our lives for that truth. And if I could be a religious sister, I might be a sister of life. If they would let married women in, I like to cuss a little. I would be their girl.
Yeah.
But
There's a t-shirt I think that we should have. I love Jesus, but I cuss a little.
I just thinking, I guess the point is in all of this is an invitation to you to experience deep healing. You, or if there's someone that you love or know that could use this type of healing. 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, May 31st. It's a day of hope for healing.
It's time for us to take back this sin globally for all women, for all of it to be given up to the Lord. So this is not about judgment. This is about forgiveness and his divine mercy. So if you know a woman, you are that woman, you've heard about it, you've experienced it, you've paid for it, you didn't talk somebody out, whatever it is, if there is something on your heart that needs the Lord's healing, this is a come and see retreat. It will be a wonderful day, but it's an intentional day to release and to be filled up and to move forward in a new way.
Next week, when we have a special guest on, Father Mike will be here. So definitely tune in. And we can't wait for you to meet him. He's awesome. And he has such a clever and, witty, quirky, wonderful way of expressing ideas. And we think you'll love him. So please join us next week for our show when we dig in a little bit more deeply. And in the meantime, we would love to hear from you. So drop us a line at getfrankpodcast@gmail.com. That's getfrankpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your prayer requests, your questions, your testimonies. We would love to hear all about what's going on in your life.
God bless.
Hey, thanks for tuning in today. We know that this is a really, really tough topic, but we also want you to know that you're not alone and that we have been there ourselves. Again, you are always welcome to reach out to us for your prayer requests, whether it has to do with this topic or any topic. We are here to pray for you. So join our community and email us at getfrankpodcast@gmail.com.
Get Frank. Yeah, get Frank.